All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Acting United States Attorney Rich Myrus. First, I just want to let you know that in order to comply with our COVID protocols, we've kept the number of participants here to a minimum. In addition, we'll try to be as brief as possible. I'm joined today by Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha, Special Agent in charge of the Boston Division of the FBI, Joe Bonavolanta, and Superintendent of the Rhode Island State Police, Colonel Manny. These officials represent not only their agencies, but all of the agents and officers of almost a dozen law enforcement organizations who, for the past year, have been engaged in a coordinated effort to combat criminals intent on pillaging CARES Act relief programs. These funds are, of course, intended to aid vulnerable individuals and small businesses suffering financially because of the global pandemic. The FBI's Complex Financial Crimes Unit and detectives from the Rhode Island State Police are leading this investigative effort, bolstered by agents from the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Inspector General, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, Secret Service, Social Security Office of Inspector General, IRS Criminal Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, Small Business Administration Office of Inspector General, and the Providence Police Department. The U.S. Attorney's Office has assigned 3 Assistant United States Attorneys, and the Attorney General, our partner in this effort, has assigned an Assistant Attorney General to work together in federal court. Our team has worked doggedly to investigate, arrest, and prosecute criminals who seek to exploit the ongoing national health crisis by stealing taxpayer funds that are intended to provide financial assistance to hard-hit workers. And in many instances, these criminals have used stolen identities to perpetrate their fraud schemes. To date, we've brought federal charges in Rhode Island against 23 individuals, including 15 this week, for fraudulently applying for aid from CARES Act-funded programs. Investigators have thus far identified more than $31 million in fraud targeted by these criminals. Our team's efforts to combat this fraud began in May of 2020, when this office charged the first CARES Act fraud case in the nation. In that case, we charged 2 individuals with fraudulently applying for $500,000 in small business loans through the Paycheck Protection Program to dozens of non-existent workers at businesses the defendants did not, in fact, operate. In September 2020, we charged a Middletown man with fraudulently seeking $4.7 million in loans from the same program, and this individual has since pleaded guilty to bank fraud. In October, an FBI, IRS, and Rhode Island State Police investigation resulted in the arrest of 5 people in Florida. These individuals, we allege, were engaged in a far-reaching scheme to steal the personally identifiable information and good names of thousands of honest people, including Rhode Islanders. As an example of how massive this fraud conspiracy was, a preliminary review of nationwide unemployment data shows that the IP addresses linked to just one of the defendants were used to file approximately 5,000 claims in 37 states, including Rhode Island, totaling $25 million. From these defendants, we seized $1.1 million in cash, as well as several hundred debit cards in the names of individuals whose identities were allegedly stolen, a large collection of high-end jewelry, and 8 firearms. This week, in yet another front in the battle against CARES Act fraud, 15 Rhode Island residents were charged with federal wire fraud and money laundering offenses. We allege in court documents to be unsealed, or perhaps already unsealed today, that each of these individuals on their own filed fraudulent applications with the Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training, as well as in other states. In this latest investigation, we've identified fraudulent applications filed in 11 states that resulted in unemployment insurance payments of more than $578,000, including $126,000 from Rhode Island. And you'll hear more about these arrests in a moment. Unemployment insurance fraud is widespread in Rhode Island and nationally. As the cases that we've charged so far demonstrate, this fraud is being committed by numerous organized groups who have targeted CARES Act funds by using stolen identities to file for unemployment insurance benefits. And it's also being committed by individuals attempting to get rich quick by filing for benefits under their own names in multiple states. I want to be clear. It's disgraceful that anyone would attempt to fraudulently obtain CARES Act funds intended for hard-working Americans during the current health crisis, and we are committed to vigorously pursuing the criminals who commit this fraud. Our team of agents and prosecutors has the reach, coordination, and expertise necessary for effective enforcement efforts against the scourge of COVID-19 relief fraud, and our investigations are far from over. We urge the public to continue to contact the Rhode Island State Police or the FBI if they become aware of fraud or believe that they have been a victim of identity theft. Some of our best leads come from members of the public. And with that, I'll turn it over to Attorney General Neronha.
Thank you, Acting U.S. Attorney Myrus. I want to thank the State Police, Colonel Manny and Special Agent in Charge Bonavolanta and the FBI for their partnership with our office as we seek to bring justice for Rhode Islanders and Americans across the country. You know, I've stood at this podium and others and talked a lot about financial fraud, but I don't know that I've ever seen a financial fraud case quite as broad and as impactful as this one. And the number of defendants are high, the dollar amounts are high, but the impact on everyday Rhode Islanders is high as well. Relief dollars like these are not unlimited. It may seem that way sometimes, given the size of the stimulus efforts, but the reality is it is a zero-sum game. And every dollar stolen is a dollar that can't go to a Rhode Islander or an American in need. And not only is it a matter of dollars, it's a matter of access. This fraud has had an incredible effect on everyday Rhode Islanders who are entitled to unemployment benefits and can't get through to DLT, can't access DLT because of the fraudulent conduct of these individuals, as alleged in the actions brought to date and in the past. And so I'm pleased that our office has been able to play a role here, really committed to working with our partners in this effort. As the acting U.S. Attorney said, you know, these are cases that are ongoing. I'm sure there will be more to come, but it's really important, I think, that Rhode Islanders know that their law enforcement, led by our federal partners, are really making a strong commitment to doing what's right for them and achieving justice here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich and Peter, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Bonavolanta, and I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI Boston Division. What these individuals are accused of doing is despicable. They cashed in on a public health crisis by targeting nearly $31 million in federal funds that were meant to be a lifeline for tens of thousands of Rhode Islanders and other Americans who are struggling to feed their families and keep their businesses afloat. It is critical that every dollar spent goes to those who need it, not to the greedy con artists trying to cheat the system. Unfortunately, our investigators have found that is exactly what's been happening. 2 days ago, special agents and officers assigned to the FBI's Complex Financial Crimes Task Force set out to arrest 15 people for wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of public money. We believe each of them filed multiple fraudulent claims for unemployment, not just here in Rhode Island, but all around the country. Collectively, they've filed more than $500,000 in fraudulent claims in as many as 11 different states, as far away as North Dakota and California. Of that, approximately $223,000 in fraudulent benefits were paid out by the states of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. In fact, one of the individuals we arrested managed to game the system in 8 separate states and line his pockets with almost $90,000. As part of this ongoing investigation, we also executed 14 federal search warrants, during which we seized approximately $46,000 in cash and 4 loaded handguns from 3 convicted felons. 3 of those firearms were reported stolen. An AK-47 magazine and ammunition were also seized. All 3 men also will be charged with being felons in possession. 2 additional subjects were taken into custody on outstanding warrants out of Rhode Island and New York, bringing the total number of individuals we arrested to 17. Sadly, the victims of these crimes are the unemployed who are relying on these benefits to take care of their families, helping to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Fraud against the unemployment insurance program has become increasingly prevalent during this pandemic, with millions of dollars paid out in bogus claims. These ongoing efforts by investigators and prosecutors cannot be overstated. Since the start of this pandemic, we have been aggressively working with our partners to ensure that emergency financial assistance allocated under the CARES Act is going to the people who really and truly need it the most. Working together, last May, we arrested the first 2 men in the nation charged with conspiring to fraudulently obtain more than $500,000 in forgivable loans backed by the Small Business Administration. In September, we arrested a serial bank robber from Middletown who was accused of filing fraudulent loan applications totaling $4.7 million. In October, we arrested 5 men in Florida who we believe to be involved in a wide-ranging, complex scheme to steal the identities of hardworking Rhode Islanders and seized more than $1.2 million in cash, several hundred debit cards in the names of people whose identities were allegedly stolen, along with 6 firearms and a large collection of high-end jewelry. Information we obtained from one of their email accounts revealed the fraudulent claims were filed in 37 states, totaling $25 million. Additionally, we have identified and interviewed 20 Rhode Islanders who were victims of romance scams, work-from-home scams, and grant fraud scams, who became unwitting money mules when they were asked to launder approximately $460,000 in unemployment and Paycheck Protection Program money. But make no mistake, our work is not done. Our investigation continues, and the FBI will continue to work with our partners to root out this fraud and protect hardworking taxpayers from further financial harm. I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation for the tremendous work done by Acting United States Attorney Myrus and his team of prosecutors, the FBI's Providence Office, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General's Office for dedicating a full-time prosecutor to this case, IRS Criminal Investigation, the United States Secret Service, the Department of Labor Office of Inspector General, as well as each and every one of our partners who are working these cases with us. We have a zero tolerance for anyone trying to defraud the hardworking people of this state. Thank you.